गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. We are in chapter 7 of Amrutanubhava and we are doing Agnana Khandana, and here with all the deliberations that and arguments that our Jnaneshwari Maharaj has presented, eventually Sant Jnaneshwari Maharaj resolves to drop the subject of ignorance but finds that another line of argument is also possible, and he says Mahanauni Agnana Akshare Numasu Ata Nidasure Pari Anaye Kusfure Iye Vishi. We are in the 85th verse of the Agnana Khanda, last 3-4 verses left. He says, therefore, let us drop the thought of this illusory ignorance, and yet another thought occurs to me about ignorance. This is what happens. All thinking is in ignorance only. And as much as you may try to establish it, we are not able to establish, because there is only one thing that is true, there is only one thing that is established, there is only one thing which is constant, there is one thing that is permanent, and that is the truth. That is the infinite reality. Everything else is changing. And therefore, Bhagavan Jnaneshwari Maharaj says that let us drop this ugly word ignorance altogether from our vocabulary. Let us not talk about this subject at all. But then another thought occurs to me as to how it is still possible to think that ignorance exists. In this way, Jnaneshwari Maharaj thinks of every possible doubt that can still linger in some minds that ignorance does exist, and he wants to clear even the smallest doubt most emphatically. And what is the other thought? That is this, what Swamiji is explaining now. Just like we say space exists, absence exists, there is nothing there. Is nothing an object? Similarly, I am is the isness, I am is the existence, I am ignorant. Arey yaar, ignorant there is there ignorance, something called ignorance, that you are saying that I am ignorant? And all the arguments with reference to the ignorance, whether it can be removed, whether it can be established, all those were seen from all different angles till now. And here Swamiji says objective knowledge requires two types of vyaptis. One is vritti vyapti, where the mind takes the shape of the object to be known, and the second is the phala vyapti, where this first stage of knowledge is owned by someone as I know this object. When the two vyaptis come together, objective knowledge is complete. This we saw, I think we have done this verse and till this verse in the last class. So what is vritti vyapti? Vritti vyapti is where the mind through the senses goes out, or even in the within its womb, it takes the shape of the object. How does it take the shape of the object? Just as the water takes the shape of a wave, just as the gold takes the shape of an ornament. just as the mud takes the shape of a pot. Exactly the same way, the mind goes and takes the shape of an object which is to be known, and second part is the phala vyapti, that is the conclusivity or the so one part, as long as vritti vyapti is taking, no problem. Problem begins from phala vyapti onwards, and then we get stuck, and then we want to repeat it. And what is that second part? The second is the phala vyapti, where this first stage is owned by someone as I know this object. I is looking at a beautiful girl, no problem. I like that beautiful girl. I see the beautiful girl and I think she's ideal one to get married to. Gone. So don't allow the knowledge to take place. And that is where we keep talking about many times, and that is, do not give value and attention to any thought that is coming and going. Be very careful what you give value and attention to. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 also, one of the verses towards the end of the chapter comes, Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsan Sangasteshu Pajayate. Whenever you think about something more than once, you start having a desire for that particular object. So first part, vritti vyapti. Second part, owning the association of the mind with the object. In the dream, the object and the object is in the mind only. There is no difference between the object and the mind. In waking, the object and the mind are separate. It seems that way. So, I know the object. When the two vyaptis come together, objective knowledge is complete. I know the laptop, I know the phone, I know this person, I know that person, etc. The two-stage process does not, however, apply to the subjective knowledge about the pure self. Now, if everywhere we are going around, the mind goes and envelops the object, and someone says, I know this object, and we have practiced this nth number of times throughout our life, and it has become a default process. Now, when we come to spirituality, we want to repeat the same thing. We want to know the conscious self as an object of knowledge. What does object of knowledge mean here? Again, don't be very attentive. That the mind wants to go and envelop what the word truth means, what the word consciousness means or indicates. And it's trying to look, where this? It becomes convinced. But what is it convinced of? It is convinced of the thought called the truth, the idea called the consciousness. But is truth or idea or the word Sat Chit Anand, are they an object to be enveloped by the mind, or is that you, the conscious principle? And therefore, here the two-stage process does not, however, apply to the subjective knowledge about the pure self, because in knowing myself, there is no relative knowledge in the knower about the known. All objective knowledge, there is duality. The known object is separate to the knower of the object. The object to be known is separate to the knower of the object to be known. But here, I am wanting, desiring, seeking to know the self that I am. I am conscious and I want to know the consciousness. The only tool I have is the mind. And because the mind was extroverted, it was perceiving the knowledge as it was vritti vyapti phala vyapti. The I goes and says, I know it. Now, this same mind has become thrilled, it has become interested in knowing the self for whatever reason, by God's grace, we will say. And this inward pursuit of the mind to know its source, to know itself, it wants to come to know objectively, which is impossible. Because this rule of engagement of the mind enveloping the object of knowledge, here the object, this bottle is an object of knowledge. Yes, the mind can go and envelop, and I say, I know the bottle. But when it comes to mind wants to know the self. Self is the object of knowledge. And I am the self. So who will know what? Is it possible for me to know myself in an objective manner? This must click in the seeker. Pursuit of this engagement objectively, to seek the truth out, to know the truth in the objective manner, is a journey in ignorance. The knower I and the known myself are one and the same. This knowing does not happen by I becoming the knower. So, to know the consciousness, to know the truth, you cannot become the truth. You are already. Truth is that knowing where the knower is not born, nor is there a known. The knower known merge in that knowledge, in the knowledge. This is real knowledge. Where the triputi vanishes. Every knowledge takes place because of subject, object, and instrument of knowledge. I think we talked about it last class. Subject is the I, the knower. Object is the known. And the instrument of knowledge is the mind. The mind first goes and envelops the object, and the I owns it, this whole process. When this sequence is applied towards the self, the knower and the known, both being the I, merge into each other. There is no difference between the two. And the real knowledge, and one comes to abide in the self. What is happening here? The objectivity is being lost. The pursuit of knowledge is being given up. What happens when you go to sleep? You are pursuing something which you don't know, which is beyond the imagination of the mind. Nothing is not an object of the mind to be, it doesn't have a concept of what is nothing, which is equal to sleep. And yet it pursues it. And what happens there? The triputi vanishes and you are in bliss. Here what is happening? The triputi of the mind vanishes, but you are still conscious. Triputi vanishes, but you are still conscious. See? As long as the triputi, the triad is moving, is coming and expressing itself, we are in ignorance. The knower known merge in the knowledge. And here knowledge does not mean the thought knowledge, the word knowledge, the conceptual knowledge. Here knowledge means the Atma itself, the one moment. Okay. The self itself. The knowledge is of the nature of knowledge. Self is of the nature of knowledge. That is real knowledge. It is against this backdrop that the doubt is raised in OVs 86 to 94. Aparnayana anikante देखो नि होय देखते वस्तु ऐसिया पुरदे नभे आंगे. The self neither becomes the knower when it sees something other than itself, nor it can become the seer with reference to itself being non-dual. See? Now this is from the point of the conscious self itself. I become the knower when I know something other than myself. What is this I? I, the infinite self, I, the conscious self, I, the Atmic self, becomes the knower when it gives validity to some object which is other than itself. What has happened here? The one has got allowed itself to be divided into two. Consciousness, when it allows itself to be divided into two, it is called mind. The consciousness, when it gets divided into two, it is called subject and object. The knower and the known, the seer and the seen, and so forth. So here it says, I become the knower when I know something other than myself. I also become the knower when I know I as a thought. Oh no, when I also become the, where are we? I also become the knower when I know I. As long as the I is a thought in the mind, then there is someone knowing that the mind is seeking the I, the mind is pursuing, the mind is contemplating on I, who am I, who am I, who am I. So whether the mind is, whether the I becomes a knower, the self becomes a knower when the mind is having an object, that is objective knowledge, the self becomes the knower of that object, and also the self becomes the knower when the mind is searching the I. So don't we say, I am seeking myself, I am seeking consciousness. Aham Brahmasmi. As long as the thought Aham Brahmasmi is there in the mind, as long as the thought that I want to know myself, as long as the thought I want liberation, I want salvation, I want to know who I really am. बेवकूफ है क्या? Till then, the rules of objective knowledge are applied. So here Swamiji says, so in these two instances of objective knowledge, there is a knower-known difference. The knower was the I, known was the objective world. In the second example, the knower was the I, and the object to be known was also the I as a thought. See? So be very alert here. One is you are knowing all objects other than the self, other than I. That will lead to objective knowledge anyway. And the second is when the I is wanting to know the I, but while it is wanting, till then the I thought continues to appear in the mind. But now what is the problem here that is being expressed? But such a transaction of knower known is not possible in the pure self, because there is no duality of any kind. The absence of knower known possibility is ignorance, therefore ignorance exists. This is the doubt that he is creating. When he said, I can think of some other way that could be a way to explain the ignorance, this is the one. And what is that? Here, when in the second paragraph, when he says, but such a transaction of knower known is not possible in the pure self. In the pure self, the knower, the I, and the known, the I, this transaction is not possible, because the self is all knowing, always knowing itself. So when we look at it objectively here, because this transaction is not possible, and which is that transaction? I, the knower the knower I wanting to know the known I. Object is the I. This transaction is not possible. Why? Pure consciousness is complete. Pure consciousness has no divisions. Pure consciousness is that where there is no dualism or duality possible. Pure consciousness is that which is one without a second. Pure consciousness is that where no separation or differences are ever possible. So the knower known difference is not possible in pure consciousness. And therefore, the seeker is saying, Jnaneshwar Maharaj is taking the position of a seeker. Therefore, the absence of knower known possibility is ignorance. We have not come to the position that we are the infinite consciousness. Our understanding, our source of knowledge is only through the interaction of knower and known. Absence of knower and known is equal to ignorance. He is taking, and therefore he says ignorance exists. This is the last thought that he is expressing. Now don't take that to be real, he is going to break it up. This statement of doubt continues with the second argument. Tarite apanaya pudhe दृश्य पघड़े ये बढ़े आपण करी फुड़े drashte pane. Although non-dual, the Atma has become this world of plurality with seer-seen duality. Therefore, where from has this world of duality risen? Now we come to the crux. Pure consciousness is non-dual. I just told all those words. Seer seen, hearer heard, taster tasted, knower known, experiencer experienced, and so on and so forth. So where is this duality existing? Is it existing in the truth? Is this duality existing in the consciousness? Is it existing in the self? That's the question. We do have the experience of the world of plurality of names and forms. I, the seer, the drashta, sees the world. Where from has the drishya, the seen, come? Have we ever asked this question to ourselves? Where has this world of name and form appeared from? It is said that the Atma has become the seer and the seen. What is that because of which the Atma has become the seer and the seen? So Jnaneshwar Maharaj is himself asking the question and he is himself giving an answer. First he asks, where has this world of name and form come? He says, it is said that it comes from the Atma itself, bifurcates into the knower and the known. Shankaracharya also says the same. What is that because of which the Atma has become the two? What is the motivating factor? What is the impetus that makes the Atma appear as dual, as the knower and the known, experiencer and the experienced? It is ignorance. This is the argument. Therefore, from the presence of a drishya padartha in the knowledge, it can be inferred that ignorance does exist in the Atman. Because everything is happening in the Atman only. Everything is happening in the consciousness. And so, when we say, why don't we know ourselves? Because we have forgotten ourselves. That forgotten is ignorance. So we divide it into two. What we told that in Bhagavad Gita, I think. On one hand, we forget ourselves, and on the other hand, we project the name and form. And the drama continues. In the previous OV, it was said that just because I cannot know myself as an object of knowledge, it does not mean I am not I. Similarly, because ignorance cannot be known, it does not mean it is not. In the present OV, the second argument presented is that Atman is able to experience the drashta drishya bheda, the duality of the seer and seen, only because this bheda has come from ignorance. Therefore, ignorance exists. Conclusion of the argument that Jnaneshwari Maharaj is trying to prove is ignorance exists. The name of the chapter is Agnana Khandana. That there is no possibility there is anything called ignorance. But he is looking at all different arguments, all different ways by which we can establish ignorance, but eventually we come to a knot. So again we repeat, what was the first, in the previous OV, what was the case? It was, I cannot know myself as an object of knowledge. But because I cannot know myself objectively, it does not mean that I am not I. I continue to be. Similarly, because ignorance cannot be known, in this example, in the present verse, ignorance cannot be known, it does not mean that it is not. I don't know what is behind me, doesn't mean that there is nothing behind me. I don't know my spectrum of vision is only limited to certain wavelength. My spectrum of hearing is only limited to certain wavelength. Because I don't know the subtler and finer wavelengths does not mean they don't exist. I don't see electricity does not mean electricity does not exist. Similarly, I don't see the argument. Similarly, I don't know ignorance does not mean ignorance does not exist. Because it is the cause of the knower and known. It is the cause of the seer and seen. It is the cause of duality.
Can we give an example like Miss Darkness wanted to marry Mr. Sun? Trying to make it easier.
Miss Darkness wanting to marry Mr. Sun.
Yes.
It's never going to be. It's never going to be possible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wish.
Like that, I'm trying to say.
Correct. Wishful thinking, and that's what Jnaneshwari Maharaj is doing here. And therefore, he says here that where are we? In this, the Atma is able. That was the first one. And in the second, he says that because ignorance cannot be known, it does not mean that it is not. In the present OV, the second argument presented is that Atman is able to experience the drishta drashya bheda, meaning seer seen difference, the duality of seer and seen, only because this difference has come about due to ignorance. And therefore, the conclusion is that ignorance is existing. Let's go with the thought. Continuing 88th verse. Jetha atmatvache sankade tetha uthe he ye vadhe ani uthale tari phude dekhata aso. Here in the self, where the mention of awareness is not acceptable, is in such a self, wherefrom does this whole world of plurality come up, and further the world of plurality also experienced? He is asking a question to himself for our sake. He is doing the Khandana. It was said earlier in OV 60 that one cannot call Atma as Atma. If that be so, and if there is nothing other than Atma Tattva, wherefrom has come the whole world of plurality and the drashta drashya bheda, that is the seer seen duality. Therefore, it is not correct to say that Atma is and ignorance is not. So, before also, don't forget the chapters that we have just done. First, we did Shabda Khandana, then we did Satchidanand. He said, Jnaneshwari Maharaj said that the word cannot exist. No word can touch the Atmic self. Then in the second chapter, the next chapter, he said that Atma, we talk about it as Satchidanand. There the word Sat, Chit and Anand, their Khandan was done. They were removed from our vocabulary, that they are important to define the reality in its entirety. Because these words are also limited. There he said Sat word is being used so that to counteract the Asat. The Chit was used to counteract the Achit. Anand was used to counteract to neutralize the Dukkham. So the words Satchid Anand were not used to define the reality. Reality is self-existing. Then why these three words were used? They were used to neutralize the opposite. And once he had done that, first he did Shabda Khandan, the impotency of the words to reveal the truth. Then he took the subject of Satchidananda Khandana. Then he took this chapter, which is Agnana Khandana. If we say the words are the grandchild of ignorance, then what is this ignorance? And all that argument is going on. And he's again and again he is coming to conclusion, and we have seen that. We will do an overview of it here, and we have seen there is nothing called ignorance. There is nothing called ignorance. Now, if this thought flow of the various chapters is clear, then let's see. Therefore, it is not correct to say that Atma is and ignorance is not. So here in this chapter, the teacher himself is taking the position of the student and the teacher. He says, before you say Atma cannot be called Atma. Before you said Atma cannot be called as Satchidanand Swarup. And now you say Atma is and ignorance is not. Atma is also a word, ignorance is also a word. In that angle he is taking it. This conclusion is emphatically reiterated in the next OV following the process of Pramana Vichar. Here the opponent has used Arthapatti Pramana to establish that ignorance is. As far as Atma Tattva is concerned, Pramana or authority of knowledge can be applied in respect of conditioned consciousness, but it cannot be applied in respect of pure consciousness. Now, again, important point. So, very important point here. Authority or pramana, authority of knowledge, can be applied with reference to conditioned consciousness. This authority of knowledge cannot be applied to the infinite consciousness or pure consciousness. And what are the pramanas? What are the authorities of knowledge? This we have seen in Panchadashi. These we have seen in Yoga Vashishta, in Vivek Chudamani. Here again, Swamiji has brought it out for our reference, that these are the various pramanas. First is the Pratyaksha Pramana. Pratyaksha Praman means there are many people who live like this. What I see, I believe. Pratyaksha. Here the authority of knowledge are the sense organs. Anavrutta Pramana or Anavruta Paramatma or pure consciousness, in which there is no touch of duality, cannot become the subject or object of Pratyaksha Pramana, as it is totally conditioned, unconditioned and beyond the scope of sense organs. Why only Atma? The sense organs can't even see their source, the mind. They can't even see their source, the mind, the cause, their own cause. So Pratyaksha Pramana is the eyes see the form, the ears hear the words, and so on. This is Pratyaksha Pramana. Is it the same way that you are going to see the infinite consciousness? You are going to see the Ishvara? And when our obsession is with this Pratyaksha Praman, then we take that infinite Ishvara or reality and give it a form in our image. A little bit convoluted though. Instead of 2 arms, we give him 4 arms or 1,000 arms. God made man in his image. But the tragedy is, man has made God in his image. Why? He is pursuing Pratyaksha Praman. Wherever he goes, he wants to see the God the way he wants to see it. So, is this possible when Pratyaksha Pramana is applied to see the self directly in this manner through the sense organs? No. So it becomes null and void. Second one, Anumana Pramana. Anuman means inference. Inferential authority of knowledge, that is knowledge based on concomitant relationship between the two variables. Example, where there is a smoke, there is fire. This Praman is also useless where Atma Tattva is concerned. Inference. Where there is a smoke, there must be fire. You are inferring. Where there is life, there must be consciousness. You are inferring. But you don't know what is consciousness. You are inferring. You have not seen fire. You are inferring. Because there is life, there must be consciousness expressing. You are inferring. Wherever there is light, you are inferring there must be electricity. But have you seen electricity? Have you experienced electricity? So, this authority of knowledge of Anumana Praman, inferential knowledge, this does not stand, it becomes null and void when it is applied to know the pure consciousness, the infinite self. It becomes useless, it becomes ineffective because of its limitations. This is possible, inferential knowledge is possible when we are looking outwards. When you are looking outwards. But when we are coming to the pure self that we are not looking outwards.
Swami, can we say that there is a paradigm shift? Like I cannot use DOS commands in Windows or Windows commands in DOS. Like that, we are talking about relative reality and absolute reality. So, relative reality, whatever be this one, cannot be applied there.
All the rules of relative reality are ineffective in absolute reality. Is that what you are saying?
Yes.
So the rules of...
You can see another example is then the astronaut goes to the atmosphere, beyond the Earth's atmosphere.
Yeah.
The same rules of gravity does not apply.
Does not apply there, correct.
The same way, here also that same rules cannot apply.
But our mind continues to think in the same way and tries to apply the same rules of engagement when it comes to the self, but they are null and void.
Null and void.
Correct,
exactly.
correct.
So these examples are more, I feel, these kinds of examples are easy to understand than just giving the way the text is going. Examples like this, modern examples are given, people will be easy to understand it.
I think others have understood. They have been listening for so many years now.
I'm just pointing out.
Yes.
Others have understood well and good self.
Yes. You can use those examples. Yes. Then the third one is Shabda Praman. This authority is based on the difference on the basis of name, Nama, Rupa, form, Jati, that is whether you are plant, animal, bird, etc. Kriya, the type of activity done, and Sambandha, the relationship. Paramatma Tattva is Shabda Rahita, beyond the scope of words. None of these 5 criteria can be used to define it. What are they? Nama, Rupa, Jati, Kriya and Sambandha. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. The Paramatma or the pure self is that yato vacho nivartante, where the words cannot reveal it, and neither is it something which can be comprehended by the mind. It's impossible for the mind to do that. Because mind is conditioned consciousness and pure self is unconditioned consciousness. How can finite ever come to know the infinite? How can the finite senses come to know the relatively infinite mind? Impossible. So even these 5 authorities based on Nama, Rupa, Jati, Kriya, does the pure consciousness have a name? No. Does it have a form? No. Is it a particular species? No. Does it Can it be known through some activity? No. Yet, many seekers are continuously, they want to do asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. Is the self going to become, you are going to come to know the self by these activities? No. You are already that. Then why are we doing all these activities? Only to remove that which is coming as an obstacle between you and yourself. You are not doing, why are we studying? We are not studying here to prove that Atma is. We are studying to see what are the various obstacles that are coming in our mind, in our approach, because of which we are not accepting ourselves as we are. That is the pure consciousness. Continuing, the fourth one is, what is it called? Upamana Pramana, authority of knowledge by comparison. Such comparison is also not possible in Paramatma. There is nothing whatsoever that is higher than, other than, and inferior than me. Upaman is comparison. Is it? We give so many examples. The wave, the ocean and the waters. Wave is the individual, ocean is the total, waters are the infinite reality, like the infinite reality. So can we use these examples to prove that consciousness is, that it is like the water on which the wave and the ocean are appearing and disappearing, but water is not affected? All those are words. They are presenting a particular idea to the mind of the seeker. But is consciousness like that? We can bring many other arguments that, oh, the waves are being caused by the wind and this and that. Then what are the waves of thoughts being created in the Atmic self? Now again you have created duality there by thinking in this manner. So you cannot compare with any other example in this relative world to show that Atma is. Next one, Karya Karana Arthapatti Pramana, authority of knowledge following the principle of cause and effect. The Atma did not spring from anything, nor did anything spring from Atman. It is neither the cause nor the effect. So here the principle of cause and effect. What are the principles of cause and effect? What is the first rule of cause and effect? Forgotten. I was just praising you guys. You have been listening for a long time to Neelkanthan. What is the first rule of cause and effect? Every effect must have a cause. What is the second rule of cause and effect? भूल गए? Cause alone expresses as many effects. That's the second rule. What is the third rule? If there is no cause, there is no effect. Apply on gold, apply on mud, apply on anything that you want to apply on. Every effect must have a cause. And what do we say? Upadana karan and nimitta karan, the efficient cause and the material cause. So if an ornament is there, the material cause is the gold, the efficient cause is the jeweler, goldsmith. But here we just take one. The cause is the gold. Excuse me. Second rule was cause alone is expressing as many effects. Cause, the gold, alone is expressing as many effects the ornaments. अरे ये भी समझ आ गया. Third rule, if there is no gold, if there is no cause, there is no effect. If there is no gold, there is no ornament. Now, are we going to apply these three rules of Karya Karana, of cause and effect, to prove that pure consciousness, the reality is? Are we going to prove, just like nobody has known the cause. You come to know the cause only through the effect. I see the ornament, I touch the ornament, and I come to, the material that has gone behind this ornament is the gold. So are we going to, from the effect, are we going to prove that the cause, the reality is? Because we are seeing this world, therefore the reality is? Is that what we are going to do? So here, the Atman did not spring from anything. Atma is not an effect of anything. The Atma is not a cause of anything. It is complete. It is self-sufficient. It is one without a second. Cause and effect, even though we understand the way we just explained it to you, that the effect came out of the cause. Did Atma come out of anything? Is there a greater cause than Atma? Is the individual consciousness come out of the infinite consciousness? Oh my God. Is it like the individual wave came out of the total ocean or the total infinite waters? Is it like that the individual consciousness that I am, which I am seeking, what its true nature is, did it come out of the total consciousness? Is this individual consciousness the effect of the total consciousness or the infinite consciousness? See, you may not even have thought of these questions. The Atman did not spring from anything, nor did anything spring from the Atman. Is the Atman the cause of everything? Just like the sun is the cause of day and night, is the Atma that the pure self is it the cause of this whole world? Is it the cause of this mind? Is it the cause of the space, air, fire, water, earth? The whole story, the genesis is given. The one infinite Paramashiva wanting to know himself became two, the Shiva and Shakti. And remember the first chapter, Shiva Shakti Samavesh. And that Lord Shiva, by nature, he is introvert, he is meditating. Shakti, wanting his attention, she starts multiplying. First she multiplies into Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Then from this Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, rest of the creation happened. And as the creation was happening, multiplying, slowly, Shiva opened his eyes. And then when his eyes were fully open, he became, he was in wonderment of the beauty of the creation. Again he closed his eyes in wonderment, and everything again collapsed. So, beautiful story. For that, so many Puranas are written, from every God's point of view, taking him to be the Parabrahma, taking him to be the Ishvara. So, is Atma the cause of the gods? Is Atma the cause of the 5 elements with this out of which this creation has come? Is Atma the cause of past, present, future? Is Atma the cause of life as we know it? Is it the cause? Om Sahasra Shersha Purushaha. You must have heard this way. That Atma alone created all the bodies and then expressed through the bodies. Is it like that?
Since it's not the effect, it must be the cause then.
No. If there is no effect, there is no cause. Both coexist. Has the world come out of Atma? That is the question.
Superimposition.
That will come. He will come to that in the probably in the next verse. We are just looking at the point that is Atma. Many times we give this with a loose tongue we say, oh, Ishvara is responsible for everything. He created the world. He will take care of the world. Why should I worry about it? Oh, दुनिया बनाने वाले काहे को दुनिया बनाई? Oh, the creator of the world. Why did you create the world? But did Atma create the world? Can Atma create the world? Can the infinite consciousness express as conditioned consciousness? This is the question here. At relative level, cause and effect is valid. This is the world that we live in. But when we are coming to the infinite consciousness, are the same rules of cause and effect, can they be applied to the infinite consciousness? Is it a cause of everything? Karya Karana Arthapatti Pramana. It is neither the cause nor the effect. Who? The Atmic Self, the pure consciousness. It is neither the cause nor the effect. Cause and effect is only in the relative existence. In the absolute, there is no cause and effect. From sun's point of view, there is no day and night. From space point of view, there are no directions. The effect. But we give it. From water's point of view, there are no oceans and no waves. From water's point of view, I am saying. From gold's point of view, there are no multiple ornaments. Ab bolo. From pure consciousness point of view, is there multiplicity? Are there any effects? It is impossible. It is one homogeneous whole. That also डर के बोल रहे हैं डर के बोल रहे हैं मतलब homogeneous whole. We are trying to communicate something which is incommunicable. In Arthapatti, the cause is inferred from the effects. This praman is not valid in the Atman. It is beyond Krita effect and Kritat cause. Remember what did Nachiket ask our Yamraj? Anyatra dharmat, anyatra asmat kritat, anyatra bhutat bhavyach. That krita akrita. Krita akrita. Anyatra dharmat, anyatra dharmat. What is that which is beyond dharma, righteousness and unrighteousness? What is that which is beyond cause and effect? What is that which is beyond past and future? And now what verses we are doing in Kathopanishad, etadvaitada, again and again each verse is saying, this is that which you asked. This was the question. Anyatra dharmat, anyatra dharmat. Anupalabdhi pramana, this is the sixth one, the last one. Knowledge that is derived from the authority of absence. His walking stick is not in the corner, that means he has gone out. Atma Tattva being ever present, absence cannot become the authority of knowledge with reference to Atma. Upalabdhi means gain. Anupalabdhi is no gain. The authority of absence here, he says, knowledge that is derived from the authority of absence. Is Dad there? No. Then what is the conclusion? If he is not at home, then he must have gone out. So here, what I understand is that absence is not the authority to prove a presence of something or someone. So because we cannot know it, because it yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha, because the words cannot reveal it, because the mind cannot comprehend it. Therefore, that which cannot be known must be the truth. What is happening here? We are still in our mind. The pure self is beyond the mind. It's you. But if a person is pursuing, these are the 6 pramanas, all these pramanas are valid for the mind. It tries to prove something or whatever through one of these 6. The Atma, the self, the pure consciousness that we are, I am, cannot be proved by any of these 6. These 6 types of pramanas are therefore not useful as regards the pure self is concerned, but they are useful when one is referring to the conditioned self, avritta paramatma tattva. So these can work, these can be effective only to prove the conditioned consciousness but not the infinite one. This conditioned consciousness becomes the object or subject of discussion by these 6 means of knowledge as explained below. We look at the how these 6 prove the conditioned consciousness. So just now when we use these 6 for the infinite consciousness, we found these 6 means of knowledge were important. Now we will use the same 6 to prove the conditioned consciousness and see what the result comes out. That we'll do in our next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Just sit quietly for a moment. Hari Om.